4 years after a bruising defeat to Joe Biden, Donald Trump won a second term as commander-in-chief.
I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
But Trump is not the only world leader to have clawed his way back to power. From U.S. President Grover Cleveland to Brazilian President Luiz Lula da Silva, several have managed this feat, but with mixed results.
Grover Cleveland is an unusual story in the history of the presidency because he sort of comes out of nowhere.
Cleveland, a Democrat, is the only American president other than Trump who was elected to 2 non-consecutive terms.
He is this very working class, by the book, sort of anti-corruption figure, which is really important in this era because there's a ton of corruption at the federal level.
Cleveland won a narrow victory in 1884 despite a sex scandal. He admitted to possibly fathering a child out of wedlock. But in his re-election bid, he campaigned on slashing tariffs and lost.
But it ends up being, ironically enough, a central part of the story for how he comes back into office 4 years later. Because in the 4 years that he's gone, a Republican president comes in, you have a Republican Congress, they dramatically increase tariff rates, and the public starts to wake up to what Grover Cleveland was saying because they feel the sting in their pocketbooks. Everybody's prices go up.
Thus, Cleveland jumped from being America's 22nd president to its 24th. Another leader from history who staged a comeback, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. He led his country through World War II and ultimately the defeat of Nazi Germany, earning high approval ratings from the public.
We may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing. Today is Victory in Europe's Day.
But a mere 2 months later, Churchill's Conservative Party suffered a crushing defeat. After years of war, Britons were keen to move on. They voted in part for the opposition party's major social reforms. But Churchill returned to 10 Downing Street in 1951.
The Right Honourable Winston Spencer Churchill.
I wish you all, whatever party you belong, good fortune for yourselves and for our island home.
But health issues forced him to resign by 1955.
Buonasera a tutti. Il Presidente della Repubblica mi ha conferito l'incarico per la formazione del governo.
And then there's Italy's Silvio Berlusconi, a billionaire media mogul who kept coming back as prime minister again and again and again, despite a host of scandals.
Sono in giro un mare di belle figliuole e di imprenditori solidi e io non sono un santo, lo avete capito tutti. Speriamo che lo capiscano anche quelli di Repubblica. Bene.
In 2013, he was convicted of tax fraud and banned from public office for 6 years. But Berlusconi staged one last comeback in 2022. He won a Senate seat less than a year before his death. The ultimate comeback story may belong to Brazil's president, Luiz Lula da Silva. Lula ran for the presidency 3 times and lost before finally emerging victorious in 2002.
You know, he comes from a working class, a trade union background, a socialist, a radical, and there's a lot of doubt about whether or not he would be successful in 2002.
Lula went on to have 2 hugely successful terms. Under Brazilian law, he could not run for a 3rd consecutive time, though he could try again later. But in 2018, he was banned from running after being found guilty of corruption. He spent 580 days in jail before his conviction was annulled, paving the way for his victory over far-right incumbent Jair Bolsonaro in 2022.
Porque tentaram me enterrar vivo e eu tô aqui.
While it's a stunning comeback story, Lula, like Trump, is retaking the helm in a world that has changed dramatically while they were away. And that could prove a challenge.
The environment is a very different environment. The geopolitical environment is different.
That was certainly the case for Cleveland, whose second term was beset by the largest economic depression in U.S. history at that time. By the end of his presidency, his own party had all but abandoned him.
The things that make people effective in one window may make them less effective in another one. And it's actually not that much time has to elapse between a president's skill set's really meeting a moment and a president's skill set being a little out of phase with the moment.
On January 20th, 2025, the story of Trump's second term will begin.